One drop of blood, hundreds of medical tests, a technology that promised to change healthcare forever. It never worked. Not once. Not even close. This is the story of Theranos, a company that convinced presidents, generals, billionaires, and the media to believe in a miracle that didn't exist. A story about how charisma can overpower science, how secrecy can impersonate innovation, and how one woman in a black turtleneck nearly pulled off Silicon Valley's most dangerous fraud. Let's rewind to 2003. Elizabeth Holmes is 19 years old, a Stanford dropout. She has an idea. Blood testing is painful, expensive, and slow. What if you could run hundreds of tests from a single finger prick? What if healthcare could be faster, cheaper, and accessible to everyone? It sounded revolutionary. It was also scientifically absurd. But Holmes didn't sell a device. She sold belief. She lowered her voice into a practiced baritone. She dressed like Steve Jobs. She spoke in vague, absolute statements. She never blinked. She projected certainty in a world that confuses confidence with truth, and it worked. By 2014, Theranos was valued at $9 billion. Elizabeth Holmes was on magazine covers, on TED stages. Presidents toured her labs. She was celebrated as the youngest self-made female billionaire in America. There was just one problem. The technology didn't work. Theranos was not a tech company. It was a stage play. The device was called the Edison. It was supposed to run complex diagnostic tests from a single finger prick. In reality, it failed constantly. Results were inaccurate, sometimes dangerously so. So Theranos did what bad actors always do when reality disagrees with the pitch. They cheated. Patient samples were secretly run on standard Siemens lab machines, the same machines Theranos claimed to have made obsolete. Blood samples were diluted to fit the devices. Data was manipulated. Results were presented as breakthroughs. Patients were lied to. Partners were lied to. Investors were lied to. And employees who noticed were silenced. Theranos hired David Boies, one of the most aggressive lawyers in America. Whistleblowers were threatened with lawsuits they couldn't afford. Some were followed, intimidated, buried. One engineer, Tyler Schultz, was hit with over $400,000 in legal fees for telling the truth. His own grandfather, former Secretary of State George Shultz, sat on the Theranos board and chose Holmes over his grandson. That's not innovation. That's intimidation. Now here's where this stops being a solo villain story. Look at the board. Henry Kissinger, George Shultz, James Mattis, William Perry, Sam Nunn. Powerful men, serious titles, and not a single blood diagnostics expert. That wasn't an accident. It was the plan. Holmes built a board that could open doors, not ask questions. These men didn't understand the science, but they understood authority. Their presence discouraged scrutiny. Their names created legitimacy by association. The investors followed. Rupert Murdoch put in $125 million. The Walton family, Betsy DeVos, Larry Ellison. None of them demanded independent validation. None of them insisted on peer-reviewed data. They believed the story because everyone else seemed to believe it too. Actual scientists were skeptical from the beginning. The physics didn't add up, but expertise was quieter than hype, and hype always wins in the short term. October 2015. Wall Street Journal reporter John Carreyrou publishes an investigation that detonates the illusion. Former employees go on record. Lab records leak. The truth comes out. Theranos is running tests on commercial machines, and the results are unreliable. Holmes goes on TV, CNBC, Mad Money. She denies everything. But it's over. Federal regulators step in. They find Theranos labs posed immediate jeopardy to patient safety. Walgreens cuts ties. The company voids 2 years of test results. By 2016, Theranos is collapsing. By 2018, it's finished. Elizabeth Holmes is charged with wire fraud and conspiracy. In 2022, she's convicted, sentenced to over 11 years in prison. The turtleneck didn't save her. The Theranos story isn't just about Elizabeth Holmes. It's about what we reward. Charisma is not competence. Secrecy is not innovation. And trust us is not evidence. Real science is boring. It's slow. It's peer-reviewed. It survives scrutiny. Theranos avoided all of that because scrutiny would have killed the story early. And Silicon Valley helped. The worship of founders, the obsession with disruption, the belief that rules don't apply if the vision is big enough. Theranos didn't happen in isolation. It happened because confidence was treated as proof. Elizabeth Holmes is in prison. Theranos is gone. But the conditions that made it possible are still here. Every time a founder overpromises, every time investors skip due diligence out of fear of missing out, every time the media hypes a product they don't understand. So the next time someone in a black turtleneck promises to change the world, ask one simple question: can you prove it? If this made you rethink the next revolutionary startup, subscribe. Evidence matters more than enthusiasm. See you next time.